afternoon, friends. I hope your day has been productive, that at no time did you sit back and think, wow, today could have just been one email and we wouldn't have had to waste all our time in front of these cell phones and computer screens. I hope that it's been productive for you and that you've learned some things, that you've had a couple of aha moments, and that you can see the light at the end of the tunnel when it comes to this pandemic. I don't know what it's like up there in Alaska. My thought would be that the whole thing is frozen up there by now, so there's no way that this virus could last. But down here in Oregon, I've had dozens and dozens of church members that have come down with this virus, maybe over a dozen of them in the ICU. Hadn't had anybody die from it yet, but boy, the isolation, the loss of some jobs, not a lot in my congregation, but the fear of getting this thing, and I've got a lot of people that are elderly in my congregation, has made it so that we haven't been in church since last March, and it's no bueno. I'm not having any fun being a televangelist every week, having to be like this only in my church congregation with the pipe organ behind me and preaching to people that are watching online. The blessings are that we do have a lot more people attending church because of that. We have, between 1,000 and 2,000 people watching every Sabbath on our different venues through the week. And that's a good thing, because usually we only average 560 to 600 in church every Sabbath. So we're getting more ears and eyes, and that's a good thing. Well, I hope your afternoon is okay. I hope you don't have a big lunch stupor that you're dealing with right now. Let's start with a word of prayer, and we'll get through today's topic. Thank you, Father, so much for everything that you've done for us and given to us. And Lord, we're blessed people, no doubt about it, because we're in partnership with you in ministry and in life. So thank you for blessing us. And today I pray that maybe another idea will be sparked in folks' minds as we talk about something that that I don't know a lot about, but that I've experienced a little bit. In Jesus' name, amen. So I told you when I became a principal, I didn't know what I was doing. And I can say that in my 5 years there, I was on the phone to my conference educational director and my union educational director almost every day saying, man, now this is happening. I don't know how to do this. What do I do? Is there paperwork? Is there, and we got to know each other very, very well, to the point where we're still pretty good friends, all of us, because I was on the phone with them every day. So I don't purport to know everything about everything. And I can tell you that my school had warts, plenty of warts, just like yours does, just like your churches do and my church does. But we had a lot going on that was good too. You aren't going to hear me talk about the warts because I'm kind of an optimistic person. But you will hear me talk about some of the things that we did that I thought worked out pretty well and that I want to encourage you with. So I was looking for a marketing plan. Something that the school had done and developed, or something that the conference had to market their school, something that the union had as a template. Nobody had anything. So I decided that we needed to do this, and I got together. You'll notice I like collaboration. I got together with a bunch of people in my church and school. The pastor was a part of it by this time. And the people that I had from my church were all kind of business people, had a business mind. And I said, hey, I want to market our school. And specifically, at this point in time, we had a whole bunch of people that didn't trust the local Adventist school anymore, that were going to our churches. So they were all homeschooling their kids. I said, I want to market to our Seventh-day Adventists. But if they're not going to come, I want to be like Jesus and say, fine, let's go into the highways and byways and get everybody, the wicked and the righteous, as Matthew 22 says, and let's have them at the table. So we had I wanted to have a concerted effort to get out into our community and market, mostly because I'm a missionally driven person. I want more and more people to know the Seventh-day Adventist message about Jesus, because I think it's a unique perspective on the Godhead and on God's character, and what a great opportunity to have people pay you money to teach their kids Adventist curriculum. And I can tell you, I had a couple of experiences about this that were pretty neat. Had a lady come in, and maybe the most intense person I've ever met in my whole life. The family owned an ambulance service in Wenatchee, and the grandfather of the family was a state senator. The name was well known in the community, and they sent their kids to our school. And this lady comes bursting through my door in my principal's office and slams the door and sits down. I didn't even invite her in, and she was intense. Boy, her face was red, and her eyes just piercing blue looking at me. And she said, "What in the world are you teaching my kids about Sabbath?" And I said, "Hi, Julie. What do you want? What's the problem? You guys are teaching that Sabbath is the seventh day of the week and that we should keep it." And she told me all the things we were teaching. And I said, "Oh man, Julie, I am so sorry." And I grabbed an NIV Bible out of my shelf, as I typically did in these kinds of conversations. And I said, "Here, Julie, show me what we were teaching your kids out of the Bible." And she goes, "Well, I don't know where it is in the Bible." And I said, "Well, okay." And she was a church-going person and on a different day. And I said, "Do you mind if I just show you out of the Bible what we're teaching them?" She goes, "Well, it's not one of those funny Bibles, is it?" And I said, "I don't know what a funny Bible is. This is a New International Version Bible, but I've got KJV. I got whatever you want." And she said, "No, New International is fine." I said, "Okay, great." And I started in Genesis and went to Exodus and went to several other places in the Bible, all the way through to the book of Revelation. And by the end of it, I said, that's all we're teaching here, is that the Bible's pretty consistent on calling the Sabbath the seventh day of the week, and that on that day we're called to rest from our labors and focus on Jesus and family and the good world that God created for us, and be appreciative that He's the creator. And she was a little less intense now, and I thought, I'm going to take a different tact. See, I knew Julie ran this whole ambulance service as a partnership with another family of the same last name. They also had huge cherry orchards. She was involved in all kinds of things in her church and her community. This woman had no rest. It reminded me of that third angel's message, that says there's no rest day or night for those who worship the beast, right? And so I said, "Julie, when was the last time you had a day off?" And she's looking at me, and she finally just sank back in the chair and went, "Oh," she said, "I'd kill for a day off." And I believed her. I said, "Julie, the Sabbath, it's just God saying, hey, you guys are working yourself to the bone. I'm going to give you a weekly day off to rest in me." And I said, "Julie, that just points to Jesus, who is the Sabbath incarnate. He's that seventh day in a person. When we come to Him, He gives us rest. That's the promise." I said, it's just one day a week that God designed for us to rest in Him. And it's right there in the Bible. I just showed you. That's all it is. And she said, "I'm sorry I came in so hot. I can go with that." Now, I can't tell you that she's a regular Sabbath keeper anymore, but boy, she understands the doctrine now like she never did before. Why? All because of our Seventh-day Adventist schools. Had another guy come in. His name was Mac. Mac had 2 kids in our school. Single dad, divorced, and his wife was out of town. And so he comes bursting into my office. He went to another church, a different one than Julie. And he sits down and he said, "What the hell are you teaching our kids about hell?" I said, "Good morning, Mac. How are you? Now, don't be doing the pleasantries and everything. I want to know what you're teaching our kids about hell." And I said, "Well, what do you believe about hell?" And he said, "Well, it's simple. If you're wicked, if you don't believe in Jesus, you go to hell and you're there for eternity, and you suffer for eternity for your choices of not believing in Jesus." And I said, "Oh, wow, Mac, that's pretty intense." I said, "And that's in the Bible?" He goes, "Well, of course it is. It's all over the Bible." And I said, "Great." And I handed him a big NIV Bible, and I said, "Show me where that is." And he got that Bible, and And he started flipping pages back and forth and looking, and he goes, well, I don't know where it is exactly. Give me a week. I'll be back next Tuesday. Oh, okay, Mac. I said, hey, and Mac, if we're wrong, we'll teach something else. He goes, well, I appreciate that. Well, he comes back the next week and he goes, I found it. I found it. I said, what did you find? I found the verse that talks about the eternal soul. I said, oh, tell me what it is. He gets this verse out of Ecclesiastes. Of all books, the book of Ecclesiastes, the one that says the dead know nothing, right? He gets this one verse in Ecclesiastes that says, and God put eternity into the hearts of men. That sentence right there was what he hung the whole thing on. I said, Mac, you're going to go with that? He goes, yep, that's what I'm going with. I said, okay, buddy, do you mind if I open the Bible with you and show you some stuff? He says, nope, don't mind it at all. So I opened the Bible in Genesis and started out with, the whole Bible study, right? About breath and soul and how the body was made in Genesis chapter 2, verse 7, and all the way through the book of Revelation. And by the time I was done with that Bible study, Max said, why have I never seen any of this stuff before? I said, I don't know, Mac. We get used to believing a certain thing and we don't check it out, I guess, but I don't know. And he said, this is just blowing my mind. Death is sleep and there's a resurrection. Because in the course of the study, I said, Mac, so what happens to all the people that are in heaven at the resurrection? Does God have to kill them all, bring them back, put them in the grave, and then raise them up at the resurrection and then bring them back to heaven? He goes, well, that doesn't make any sense. I said, yeah, it doesn't make any sense, does it? After that, every time Mac would drop his kids off for school, I'd be standing out front to say hey, and he would stand up on the floor of his car and look over the top of his car, and he'd say, sleep, Mr. Witas, sleep, he'd say about this new thing. What an opportunity our schools have to let our non-Adventist parents know about Jesus. Not only our students, but the parents from what they bring home. If it's done right and not in an ultimatum or a kind of a threatening way, man, oh man, can that be an appeal to the good character of God and to the virtues of what Seventh-day Adventists believe. So we put together a marketing plan that had some of these potential discussions in mind. And here's what the beginning, and you should have this. This was from a particular year. You should have this marketing plan in front of you. It says, marketing a Seventh-day Adventist school to both Seventh-day Adventists and community is an art that has no set standard in Seventh-day Adventism. Still doesn't. I don't think our conferences or our unions are putting together a template for this, and I just don't understand why. We're all fretting and worried about low student enrollment, and then we don't market. I don't know. It seems like complaining about getting lung cancer and still smoking. Anyway, most schools spend their marketing energies in trying to get students from surrounding Seventh-day Adventist churches, and there's nothing wrong with that, okay? Because CCA serves as only one source of Christian education in the Wenatchee Valley, the Cascade Christian Academy Board has chosen to market to students from all walks of life and Christianity, as well as to our own constituents. So, marketing to Seventh-day Adventists. This is the first part of our marketing plan this particular year. Marketing to Seventh-day Adventists has as much to do with perception as it does reality. You know, and I know, if it happened at your school 20 years ago, in church members' minds, it's still happening that way. Nothing's changed. It has changed, but in their minds it hasn't. And perception is reality. Perception drives what's happening in an organization. Perception is everything. When a Seventh-day Adventist perceives that a school enforces its rules consistently, is faithful to the church's standards and traditions, and educates their children in academics as well as in character development, the battle is mostly won with Seventh-day Adventists. You do those things, most of the Adventist parents are going to send their kids to your school. So, Here's 10 things we did to market to Adventists. 1, have a discipline policy that is fair and consistent. Use this policy to remove students that take away from the overall program and correct students that respond to needed guidance. When I got there, the principal before me, good guy, really good guy. But basically, it kind of depended on which way the wind was blowing on how a student was going to get disciplined. I was told going in by a veteran principal, this is my best friend. Write everything down, document everything. So we decided to go with a discipline that was kind of a 5-tiered thing. You can do whatever you want as long as it's consistent. But the first time a student got in trouble for something, they would come to my office. I'd speak with them. Let's see if it can get resolved. If it happened again, they would come into my office. And at that point, I would send an email out to the parents saying, hey, I had Johnny in today for this and this and this. We had this discussion. I wanted you to know about it. The third time, the same thing happened. The parent would need to come in and we'd all have a nice long talk. And I'd say, Johnny, this is the third time in this particular behavior. The next time you're not getting it, we're going to suspend you for a couple of days. Fourth time, suspension. Again, everything's documented, everything's sent to the parents, everything's in writing. Fifth time, Johnny's probably going to have to say goodbye. We felt that was fair, and that's what we did, and we were consistent with it, and people appreciated it, especially Seventh-day Adventist church members. Second thing, increase communication with parents by maintaining our website. We had a horrible website when I got there. I hired a 16-year-old to build it, and it ended up being really nice. Links to Edline on the homepage. Some parents check that, some parents don't. Updated school calendar and downloadable forms. All of this was important. The other communication that we did was every staff meeting. I gave our staff the first 5-10 minutes of every staff meeting to fill out a little card of appreciation for 4 or 5 of their students, and we'd rotate through this. They would write these little notes of appreciation, no correction, nothing negative, all positive, and we would have labels that we'd stick on the back of these things, and we would mail it home, and the kids would receive these things from their teachers of appreciation of who they are and some of the better traits that they had. If there were any, there were always some. And I can tell you, without fail, those things ended up on the refrigerator, and they were some of our best marketing to do that. Communication, communication, communication. 3, we took our performing arts groups to local churches. Just make sure your kids are doing memory verses or singing or doing something in local churches. That makes a big, big difference for marketing. Number 4, we continued our annual student-led evangelistic series. Again, we had older kids in the high school that would do these, and man, oh man, did that do a lot for the Seventh-day Adventist constituents to know that our kids were teaching Daniel and Revelation to the community and making an effort to participate with our local churches in bringing people in. That was a big thing to bring church and school together. Number 5. This was a big deal. To me, it was a big deal. Put a positive spin on everything we say about the school. I told my teachers and I told my board members, if you want to keep your job, don't let me hear you saying anything negative outside of our little circle, outside of our meeting about our school. Only that which lifts the school up. And I had to pull some people aside. In fact, I had to dismiss a board member who was complaining all the time about the kids doing this and that kind of a thing. And I pulled them in and they said, yeah, I've been doing that. I gave them a warning. Second time, I brought it to the board chair and I brought it to the local church that nominated this person. I said, we don't want them on our board anymore if they're going to just do that. It's really important to put a positive spin on everything. And to not just avoid saying negative things, but intentionally say positive things. Number 6, we didn't tolerate kids with major discipline problems. Now, I'm going to tell you something, and I don't want you to judge me. You're going to judge me. The first 2 years that I was the principal of Cascade Christian Academy, we kicked out 25 students. These were kids from kindergarten all the way through high school. And I'm going to tell you, it wasn't easy. Because a lot of these kids had last names in our community that were important last names in the church community. But their kids' behavior was horrible. It was reprehensible. We had kids, kindergarten and first grade, 85 to 90% of the teacher's time was spent trying to keep these kids tamped down so that the other kids could learn something. That's not right. People are paying good money for this. And I talked to the parents and doctors and everything, and that's just not right. So we decided that they needed to go to another school until they could learn to behave. And then some of the older kids were doing things on the weekends and posted it on their social media back when MySpace was a thing. And you can't be a part of a Christian school that's striving after Christ and have a beer in your hand and a cigarette in your hand on the weekends. Didn't work for us. So, after kind of cleaning things out like that, the homeschool parents started sending their kids to school again. It was really, really weird. Anyway, behavioral problems, didn't matter how much they were paying. It wasn't worth it. And we found that we grew when we pruned. Number 7, we posted a list of character goals in each classroom, guiding each student to these goals. These character goals were really interesting. We had the character words painted on the wall in the hallway of our elementary school. And all of these words like integrity and love and grace and just all these different words, part of them from the fruits of the Spirit. They were a goal to teach these character goals to our kids, and that went over well with our Seventh-day Adventist parishioners too. We invited homeschool students to participate at every opportunity we could, and the more they saw that the school was getting cleaned up from the inside out, the more likely and willing they were to send their kids to our school. And we ended up with a ton of them. We kept an active youth program going, school and church. Pastors, teachers, school and church. Friday night vespers, Saturday night praise concerts, Tuesday night a sports program that had a mission to it where we would have different pastors in the community, Adventist and non-Adventist, give little devotional talks, and then we would all play basketball together on teams in the gym. And this, again, was great marketing, not only just to our Adventist schools, but to non-Adventist churches too. And then I'm going to tell you what I did, and you can call me crazy if you want. My first 2 years as principal of this school, I decided I was going to visit every single home of every student that went to my school, K through 12. And I was gone a lot. I was busy a lot. But I can tell you that some things happened. First of all, I would tell the student, hey, I'm coming to your house tonight. So when I get there, I hope your room's clean. Parents loved that. And so I would get to the house and I would say, listen, I'm only going to be here for 7-8 minutes. I just want to pray a blessing over your family. Thank you for sending your kid to our school. And can I see Johnny's room? And we would, of course, you always go in with other people. Don't go in by yourself. And oh, this is my trophy for this, and that poster means that, and that's a picture of me and my sister. And get back out, I'd pray over them. Every single time I looked up on the refrigerator, there was a little note from their teacher up there. This spread like wildfire. Adventist families, the principal of my school came and visited and prayed a blessing over us. Made a big difference. After that first 2 years, then as families were trickling into the school, I didn't have to visit as much, but that went a long way. Marketing to the community, a little different. We wrote, marketing to the community is an important part of school growth that also gives the school an opportunity to acquaint non-Adventists with the Adventist church and what it believes. Marketing to the community is a necessary mission to Cascade Christian Academy. We called it a necessary mission, and we called it a mission because it's our job to let everybody know about this wonderful three angels message, the things that we believe as Seventh-day Adventists. And so as a school, being a part of the church, it's a church school, we decided we need to have that as a part of our mission. So how do we market to the local community? Well, for us, after doing a bunch of research on it, we ran local radio ads sending the message that we have small class sizes, individual attention, Christian values, and a family atmosphere. We did 3 major campaigns. We did them in the spring, late summer, and before the semester break, just before Christmas. And they would be for weeks and weeks and weeks we would do this. And our ads were on radio that had audiences that we knew we wanted to attract. Mostly people from with a faith background that had so whether you agree with the programming or not, we were on a lot of political talk shows and things like that. And some music we did both Spanish and English. And you couldn't turn on the local AM radio station in Wenatchee, and for very long before you heard my voice bragging about our classroom, saying, hey, we only have a little room in this classroom, so hurry up and register. We have an open house coming up. That was a lot more, it made a lot more sense money-wise than the bulletin boards. We were thinking of the big billboards, you know, that you see on the side of the road. Those things were expensive, and we did that for a little while, and we got some feedback, positive feedback from it. But the radio advertising was huge, because on local radio, the big popular radio stations, everybody was listening to those, much better than newspaper for us. And it was a good way to advertise. It ended up that I had a relationship with the radio station so that whenever their local news programming was doing any kind of stories or interviews about schools, I was one of the principals that they would invite in besides the public school principals, and they would have me talking about private education as opposed to public education on several occasions, and it was really helpful. Number 2, we provide a strong K-12 program of community service. It's easy as an Adventist school to make your community service going down to Ethel's house and cleaning up around the house, and she's a local church member. We tried to steer away from local church members and do things more for the community. And so we made sure that our community understood and knew what we were doing in the community as a school. And that was really good advertising. I joined a local Rotary Club. And I went and ate lunch every week at this local Rotary Club and got involved as an officer, and everybody that was anybody in that town belonged to the Rotary Club. Now, it might be a different club in your area, but and you might not be able to get away from school to do it, but it really benefited us because I was able to bring our school in and perform at this thing all the time. And all these grandparents and business owners were like, wow, this is impressive. We had a parents in participation program, and you probably already do this in your school, but we require parental involvement in the school as a part of you having your kid there. You need to put some hours in and be a part of the school. It really, really helped with getting the word out about the school when they were in the school doing some things together. This was the most controversial thing that happened in my tenure as a principal, but we decided if we were going to invite and attract students from local businesses, people that could pay their bills, they wanted to see a difference in the school. And so we decided on a school uniform. And you know who was upset about that? The Adventists. Oh, we're pulling our kids out. You're taking away their individuality. The Adventists were the ones screaming about this. And so we passed it 60-40. Kind of thing. But we went to a school uniform, and from that point on, every time I gave a tour, parents were, boy, the kids look great. This is what I expect to see in a private school education. We operated a successful daycare and pre-K program. One of the things I really like about daycare is it's a feeder, and pre-K is a feeder to your kindergarten and then to your first grade and second grade and so on. We had the best one and the largest one in the city. And there were waiting lists for these things. We had 60 preschoolers, and we always had a full kindergarten program because of that, and it fed into our school. It also, if done right, the best part of these daycare and preschool programs is opium. Yeah, OPM, other people's money. The state gives you all kinds of money to run these things, and you can do whatever you want curriculum-wise. I mean, in our daycare and our preschool, we had all kinds of Christian curriculum, singing Christian songs and everything. It was great introducing these little kids to Christ, and it made our school a net net $120,000 a year from doing it right. But that daycare and preschool program was a great feeder into our school from the community. Of course, we contacted the local newspaper anytime we thought there was a story worth printing. They were at our school or on the road with our kids doing community service on a very regular basis. We had a great relationship with the local newspaper. And I'm telling you, they're starving for good stories. And if your school is doing anything unique, get to that paper and let them know what's going on, because they'll print it. They'll print it every single time. We brought our performing groups, and I told you this already, I think last session, to churches other than Seventh-day Adventist churches. So our band and our choir, those we did every once in a while. But our worship groups, the kids that led out and worship on a regular basis, or we had an elementary school. One of our classrooms was really good at memorizing really long memory verses. We would arrange with the students that went to these churches to come into their schools. Well, this opened up opportunities all over the place where we had our kids in these churches performing, and people were really curious about this school that would do these kinds of things, right? Well, it also opened opportunities for me. And I started getting invitations to come and preach at these churches because of the relationships that I had with these pastors. I had them out at our programs doing things. I had them speak for chapels. I was in their churches preaching, and so I got to go in and preach on a regular basis. And whenever I went in to preach, I would bring kids with me to do special musics, to read scripture, to give a little testimony about the school. And it was just great advertising. It was a part of our marketing plan, but also a missional part of our plan. I just think that's a really great thing to do if you can get away with it. We would send flyers out. Now, I don't know how mail-in flyers are being received. I think there's so much that's gone on with social media since I've been a principal. I know we're using social media here primarily for our evangelistic effort that's coming up rather than sending flyers out in the mail because they're getting less and less effective, these kinds of things. But man, we're using social media, and we're doing an evangelistic series here. Well, it's in a few months. And assuming that we're going to be able to be open by the time we do this. And it's all centered around that kind of advertising, around social media advertising. But we would send flyers out, kind of like evangelistic flyers, to homes in the area, inviting them to all of our open houses. And we had 2 open houses a year. The open houses were led by our students. We did not have adults bringing people around. We had students. We spent days and days and days training the students how to dress, how to walk, how to talk, what to say, what to not say. And they met people at the door and greeted them in their school uniforms and said, "Welcome to my school," and gave them a whole tour, answered as many questions as they could, and then ended up in the administration office where we had some teachers. Teachers were all in classrooms for this, so that they could answer questions. But we had the principal, vice principal, and treasurer and everything there. And these open houses were fantastic. We didn't have hordes and hordes of people coming through them, but we got somebody every time we had an open house, and it helped grow our school. So each semester, so twice a year, I held in my home advisory meetings. These were fireside chat kind of things where people were able to come into my home. All the parents were able to come into my home of the students. We did 2 a year for elementary, 2 a year for junior high, and 2 a year for our high school. And the parents would come in, and I would give them a State of the Union kind of address, give them any kind of information that they needed. And then I would sit and listen to them. I would say, listen, I don't want this to be a big barf session. I don't want it to be a gripe session, because there's always something to complain about. But if you have anything constructive to say, hey, why don't you guys do this? Or why do you do this instead of this? I want to hear it, because I want to always be better. I want our school to always be better. And so we would have light hors d'oeuvres and some drinks and things like that, veggie drinks. And we would have the folks sitting in the living room, and I would give them my State of the Union. They would ask all their questions. I'd answer to the best of my abilities. If they had some great points of things that we could change or some suggestions, I'd write it down. And these things just, I'm telling you, when a parent goes home after something like that, and then they're at church or at their business or wherever they're socializing, and they say, yeah, I was over at our kid's principal's house. What? Did he get in trouble? No. It was an informational session, and here's what we were talking about. And it really, really helped market our school. It helped. And now you got to do them right. You can't let it get out of control and be a barf session and be a complaining and a gripe session. If you control the narrative a little bit, this can be a very, very positive thing. Not only for your schools, but for your churches too. You want to hear your church members out on this, church pastors. We do this here, and I've done this in previous churches. It's really important to listen to people so that you can always strive to get better. And then finally, we had 2 days a year, and this really helped with our marketing too, that our students would visit the next grade up and get to know the students and the teacher in the next grade and hear some of the curriculum. It would get them hyped up for going to the next grade and staying in the school. This really helped with retention. To think, okay, I'm going to leave here, I'm going to go here, and you really want to gussy it up and make it a cool thing. But yeah, the jump from junior high to high school, the jump from some of the big jumps, kindergarten to first grade, or the 8th grade to high school, like I said, or 5th grade into junior high was a big deal. To get an idea of what it would be like. That helped a lot with our retention. And retention, as you know, in the Adventist context can be a real big thing. So this was 1 year, what we came up with to do. This was a group effort of people coming together and saying, okay, how are we going to market our school? Well, I can tell you, since I've been a pastor, I learned from the school. How do you market your church? Is it by once a year putting a banner out that's flapping in the breeze saying prophecy seminar? Is that how you want to market your church? How do you market your church? Pastors, teachers, everybody. Do you have a YouTube channel? Do you have a social media presence? When people drive by your facility, what do they see? That's huge in marketing, by the way. I have, while on vacation, driven by Adventist churches, made me hang my head. Driven by Adventist schools. I mean, come on, folks, paint is cheap. You can weed every once in a while, right? Or snowblow in your case, maybe. Yeah. What are you doing to market your church? What are you doing to market your school? If you don't have a plan, just like with the soul winning plan, something is better than nothing. Get a group of smart people together and sit down and start hammering this out. Come up with something that you're not doing now. And you never know. You might gain a couple of students. And I'm telling you, there is nothing like another full paid student to make your budget smile. And churches, pastors, there's nothing like people wanting to know a little bit about your church. There's nothing like that to make a pastor's day. We love it when people come in and say, hey, tell me about Seventh-day Adventists, right? So I'm going to join you here in a couple of minutes and answer any questions you might have. Marketing your church, marketing your school. What are you doing? What are you not doing? What have we done, and what's worked and not worked? We've had some things that didn't work, and yeah, let's talk. So I'll see you in a minute.